Kareena's story: autism, sensory processing issues, and the church.
Hey, good morning. My name's Katie. I'm the Roofbreaker Team Leader Through the Roof, and I'm here today with Kereena, who is one of our roof breakers. How are you today, Kereena?
I'm fine, thanks.
Yeah, good. Oh, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. So let's get underway. I wonder whether you'd be able to tell us a little bit about your faith journey and how you came to know Jesus.
Yeah, I'd like to start off with Philippians 3:13 first, where it says, brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself to have taken hold of it, but one thing I do, forgetting what is behind me and straining and press on towards the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward to Jesus Christ.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank
So
you so much.
my first part of my journey is obviously my parents took me to Sunday school at the start, because I can remember a few little bits there. But back in the 70s, hidden disabilities wasn't really thought about. So I was that little girl in the corner doing a butt wiggle dance because mum had me in some tights. And obviously that was, they thought it was behavior problems back then rather than a disability. So if I ran out the doors or wasn't mixing with the other children, or they didn't think I was listening to the stories, for instance, but I actually soaked it all up. And I think that was important to me, even back as a very, very young child. And then when I was 10 first, I started to say, I don't want Sunday school. It's too loud. I'd rather sit in the main services. So at church, I noticed on the notice board that there was prayer meetings in the week, Bible studies, and I asked my mum if I could go because I was not streetwise. So she let me go, and some of the services were on till 9 o'clock, but I still got up on time for school. And it made more sense to me because the services are so quiet, and I really soaked up those messages. And time I was 14, I gave my heart to the Lord. And I had a little bit of coaching to make sure that I had ashes into my heart. And I was fully baptized by full immersion before I was nearly 15 I was. And from there, because it was a Baptist church at the start, I was kind of pushed into things, serving and things that I found hard, but I did it anyway, like teaching Sunday school and being in worship teams. I've done so much, but I've always thought that has never been my calling, because I struggle with noise, and I've always had to have support to teach because I can't control the children. And I still do. I've done one online for somebody through an evangelical church. I still like doing object lessons. I feel like I can get a lot across through an object lesson, and sometimes it looks like a bit of magic, but it's not. It's just an object, and then it represents a story in the Bible. So that's my early church life.
Okay, brilliant. And what difference would you say knowing Jesus makes to you, particularly when you are living with access needs with a disability?
As I got older in churches, I find that because the minister moved from local to Wales, it was very hard for me to find a church I could actually settle down in, because obviously I was very accepted in my first churches as a Christian. I never had any real close friends apart from one, and sadly she passed away with cancer. She was a lovely lady called Elsa, and I know a sister came here to St. John's at some point, and she was very, very close to me. She supported me. We prayed together. We did Bible studies. I even cooked her meals and took her hospital a couple of times for a cancer treatment. But that is the only friend I've had all my life, apart from people with disabilities. I have loads of friends with disabilities.
Oh, brilliant. And I know that you have been really involved with your church and local churches to help them be more, to help equip them to be more accessible. And I wonder whether you could talk about some of the good things that you've seen that church has done to make you feel welcome.
Yeah, if it wasn't that I met you lot down in, where did I meet you? Down in Cornwall.
Creation
Because
Fest, yeah.
access areas in New Wine, because I didn't have the support from this church to actually go, so I could use a B&B and then drive in. So it was suggested that I take along my support worker to see Dawn, who was a minister here at the time. And we talked about my own needs, how I get supported living at home and how I manage my day-to-day living. Because I do struggle in a lot of areas, like form filling and just some little things. I can't cook, so I can't coordinate that very well. I nearly set my house on fire. But as we was talking, I was saying about my granddaughter. Her name's Sass. We call her Sassy. She was very lively and running out of doors. She was very hard work, especially after I had a fall and I broke my ankle. I had to bring my friend in who had special needs, and she helped me with Sassy. Church was kind of trying to stop her running out of doors because of COVID as well. So it was very difficult. And so I asked Dawn if we could move this sensory box that was by the sound system, because it was hidden away and people would have to ask for it. And I realized that there was no like fidget toys or anything in there, because I actually use one a lot. So, and they need ear defenders as well. So I thought I'd call it a thoughtful box. Yeah. So me and Dawn got that together and put it on the table at the welcome door. Yeah. So we've actually changed that. And eventually I got into a life group that I've really settled down in and very understanding. So I feel a little bit more inclusive, even though there's a lot of work still needs to be done here.
Yeah, brilliant. And Kereena, you're one of our roof breakers as well, aren't you? Our roof breakers are volunteer disability champions in churches across the UK. And your sort of work around with the sensory boxes is a roof breaking activity, because you're removing the barriers for people with access needs to come to church. And a bit like the man in Luke 5 who's lifted through the roof by his 4 friends, and that's amazing. And I wondered whether you could talk a bit about your experience with the hand dryers in the toilets, Kereena.
Oh yeah, you're right. Now I actually do a GIF course. I did, it's called a Journey in Faith course.
Yeah.
And it's through the diocese, I think, of Church of England and Anglican, or I'm not quite sure. But we did, I started off going to Leicester because I was doing a BSL level 3 course. And I had everything there. There wasn't any hand dryers. They had like towels and things like that. But I get to St. Mary's, and we was talking about spirituality. And I interviewed my son, who's also on the autistic spectrum like myself. And he says, talking about sensory as a feeling of in spirituality, was about how he knows that Jesus is with him. But when I was asked to a little bit to elaborate on this sensory thing, I turn around and says, well, here at St. Mary's, you have hand dryers and I can't use them because the noise sends really bad pain, sensory. And if you see screaming children, that's what's causing it. It's because it's too loud, and it actually hurts. It hurts inside, like small touch and stuff like that. So they've asked if they can put some hand towels in the toilet down there, just like we have at St. John's.
Brilliant. But that's an amazing success, isn't it? Because it's all about talking to people and working with the church and sharing your experience. And so that's really, really good and positive to hear. Thank you, Kereena. Yeah. Oh, great. And thank you for sharing that. That's brilliant. Is there anything that you think that churches in general could do to help people feel more welcome, particularly when they've got a disability or an access need?
Yeah, we should be training welcome people on the door to learn some basic signs, especially the alphabet maybe on their hands, because a lot of people with disabilities actually use that. We should never ever talk to a carer, try and talk directly to the person with the disability, and never be afraid to ask us, because if you ask us, we can either say no, and we can also say yes, but it's our choice. And I feel as though churches should include people like us. It's took me a long time to get back into a life group, because I couldn't access the one that I was currently in because of my own support needs at home. I do have other gifts and talents that I've not been able to use here, especially my music. I've just not been able to access it at all. So yeah, I think we're more capable, and we're not less either. I really believe that.
Yeah, we're created in God's image, and
we are.
He's got a purpose for each one of us. Yeah. Yeah, and so is there anything really practical that you think that, like, if for example somebody with an access need came to the music team or to a life group in any church, is there anything practical that would really help?
Well, if we have a particular gift or there's someone with some profound needs, then even if they don't play, it's nice for them just to be up there, even if their guitar isn't plugged in or something like that. That's fine. It's just to make them just feel welcome and find out what their gifts are. Because I think everybody needs to know that Christ loves them, even if they don't actually understand the basics. They still need to know. I have many friends, and one of them has struggled to have access to websites, and she doesn't really know how to read properly. So it's good if there's a press button on there so it can speak what's on in the week, what's going on in our church. And to also mention that that we are accessible, like they need to update their websites if they're a bit behind. I certainly know ours is a little behind on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know that as a Roofbreaker, you can have access to some free resources to help with sort of finding ways of making websites more accessible, having logos and things like that to show that churches are positive about disability inclusion. And I know that there's through the Roof do that, and other organisations have resources that I know that people can use as well. So yeah, it's about having a conversation and a journey, isn't it? When we're at church, because inclusion is like a journey, isn't it? We don't have all the answers at the same time, but it's about starting that conversation. Yeah.
And speaking to others that if they've come forward and you recognise or know that there's a need there, don't be afraid to ask. It's very important to ask us. We'd love to tell you that what our needs are so we can be included.
Yeah, absolutely. That I couldn't think of a more perfect thing to end on, Kereena. Like, it's just ask and don't assume. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to say, or that you'd like to leave us with today?
No, I am going to be speaking to the DICES, the disability advisor here, so that I can probably do a little bit more within the DICES, whether that's talking, publicly speaking in my own way, in my own gifts, behind the scenes, like I've been doing. Yeah, so
Brilliant.
I feel comfortable and included as well. I think that's very important for everybody.
That's amazing. And as the Through the Roof family, will be praying for that meeting when you meet with the diocese, and we're so excited to see you using your gifts in that way. Thank you, Kereena. Well, thank you very much for your time today, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
You too.
Thank you.
To find out more, visit www.throughtheRoof.org.